Hello and good morning. It's Phil Thatch, and today I'm going to be working in the blind with my A6700 and the 200 to 600. I was planning on going and doing some photography away from the house this morning, but it turns out I'm shooting soccer tonight, so I don't want to get too exhausted. But a lot of my best pictures come from right here on the back porch, so I'm excited about working with my A6700 today and the 200 to 600. Ooh, look at that sun flare back there. So you can see I've got the morning sun coming up behind me, and so that should have nice sun on the birds. My first two arrivals, just a couple of house benches, but I'm going to get started. I have my hummingbird feeder back out today, and I've managed to get a couple of hummingbird shots so far. I think I've seen 3 different hummingbirds: an adult male, a juvenile male, and an adult female. There's an adult male ruby-throated hummingbird, although the sun angle on it doesn't show his ruby throat too well. And here's the female. I think this is the same female that Heather and I were photographing a couple of weeks ago, and I made a number of photographs of her and many others. Here's the male again. You can see a little bit of the red in those feathers. If the sun's shining on them just right, they are ruby red, hence the name. Here's another shot of the male. And next up, wait a minute, that's not a hummingbird. This is a male house finch on one of the perches. But quickly I got back to the hummingbirds. This is the female again. And I got a number of photographs of her, and it looks like 441 millimeters works really good for the area near the bird feeder and from my blind. A lot of these photographs were at 441 millimeters. Sometimes I'd be a little bit wider just to make sure I got the bird in the shot, and other times I would zoom closer. But a lot of these, almost all in this section of the video, are 441 millimeters. So many shots of the female ruby-throated hummingbird. She would come up and she would hit the feeder, and then she would back up and hover for just a moment, and that's when I would make my shots. But the feeder is just out of frame to the left of all of these shots. I didn't get any photographs of the hummingbirds on my flowers. They did come up and hit the flowers that were on my porch, but I wasn't fast enough to get the shot. So all of these are on the hummingbird feeder, which they would hit over and over again instead of just one quick time like they do on the flowers. I've been seeing a hawk around the neighborhood. Sometimes in the morning I'll look out here, and a couple of times it's actually been on the railing of our porch, which may explain why I'm seeing less birds right now with this hawk hanging around. And every time I see the bird, if Heather's here, I'll call for her to come see it, and by the time she gets to the window, it has flown off. Well, today it flew up and landed on the back porch of my neighbor up the hill, and I was able to text her. Heather's working from home today. I was able to text her, and she finally got to see it, and I got some pictures of it. First on the railing, and then it flew up to the very top of the neighbor's roof, and I got some photos of it there as well. Beautiful bird. Here is the immature Cooper's hawk. I'm pretty sure that's what it is, and it was closer when it was on the railing of my neighbor's back porch, but the background was really bright and there was not much light on the bird. It looked much better on the roof with the beautiful blue background, and it just kind of sat there in this exact same pose for quite some time. So this is the only shot I'm sharing with you, but I do love that I finally got a photograph of the neighborhood immature Cooper's hawk. I went ahead and made a video clip as well of the Cooper's hawk while it was on the neighbor's roof. This is 4K video that's been cropped a little bit, so if you're watching this in 4K, it's a little bit less than 4K resolution, but it was just kind of sitting up there on the roof and looking around and seeing what it could see. And it stayed there for a minute or so, and then it flew off. Here's my blind, and you can see the 200 to 600 poking through. And today I've got the lantana right here. Still have the same perches I've been using for quite some time. There's the hummingbird feeder, and you may even be able to see a hummingbird flying around. And my regular feeder's up through here. And there's the next door neighbor's house where I got the Cooper's hawk on the balcony and on the roof. Here's a third ruby-throated hummingbird that visited our feeders today. This one is an immature male. It's starting to get some of the ruby feathers on its neck,
but they're not even halfway grown in yet, but you can see a few of them there. And in this next shot, it's facing us a little bit, and you can see a little bit of the ruby color, but when the entire neck is covered with those feathers and the light flashes on it just right, it's really something. Now this sparrow, I'm not even 100% sure what it is because it's so scraggly looking, but I think it's a chipping sparrow.
I like to use the mechanical shutter for the hummingbirds to avoid rolling shutter in their fast-moving wings. But when other birds are here, I like to use the electronic shutter so I can use a slower shutter speed and still not have shutter shock. And the chipmunk came up onto my stump perch. I have a perch that's just a small tree stump mounted on the porch, and I've hollowed out the top of it to put black oil sunflower seeds in, and the chipmunk came up on there. I switched to electronic shutter, slowed down my shutter speed, and got some shots of it with a mouthful of seeds.
Here is the adorable little chipmunk with a mouthful of black oil sunflower seeds there on that perch that I've placed on the back porch. And here is a Carolina wren that looks pretty scraggly looking, as birds often do this time of year, late summer. This was August 31st. And here is the chipmunk back on the little stump that's hollowed out at the top and full of sunflower seeds. And also, not a very exotic bird at all here, but I thought this mourning dove was kind of beautiful.
I finally got a cardinal. It came up and landed on a perch, my angled perch, and I have my lantana flower in the foreground to hopefully get hummingbird pictures on, but it was bokeh-fied in the foreground, the lantana flower. Just got one shot before it flew off.
I switched back to mechanical shutter to make photographs of the hummingbirds again, and this is the only one I got, and you can really see the red in this one, even though it's still the immature one. And here is the cardinal photograph that I told you about with the bokeh-fied lantana flowers in the foreground. That's a female. And I've got two more shots. Both of them are of this beautiful Carolina chickadee on my perch there on the back porch. One of it with it facing one direction, and this shot, which I don't like nearly as much as the first one, with it facing in the other direction. Thanks for joining me for another morning in the back porch blind. Hope you enjoyed it. I enjoyed using the 200 to 600 and the a6700 today, and hope you did as well. Give me a thumbs up if you like the content, subscribe, hit the bell, and as always, I look forward to seeing you in the next one. Bye-bye.